Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back with another message that was received by us from a sister, and she's asking a very particular question. Let's see what she says. She starts, Assalamu alaikum. I have a question for you and would appreciate your advice. I'm 24 years old, and 2 years ago I did a secret nikah without informing my mum and dad. There were two witnesses from my husband's side, but there were no witnesses from my side. I just wanted to ask if this nikah is valid, as my husband is saying that I'm not his wife anymore and we didn't get married. He threw away the nikah certificate and is saying that we're not married when we actually did have the nikah done. He also hasn't paid me my mahar. So the question that the sister's asking is whether or not their nikah is valid, and indeed they are married. And the short answer to that is yes, they are. He's taken a commitment, and he's taken this young lady on as his wife in the presence and hearing of two witnesses designated, regardless of which side they're from, whether they're from the bride side or the groom side, or they're two independent witnesses. There's often a misconception that people believe there need to be two witnesses from the groom side, then there need to be another two witnesses from the bride side in order for the nikah to be valid, and that's just not the case. You need a minimum, absolute minimum of two Muslim male witnesses for a nikah to be valid in accordance to the Sharia, whether they are from the bride side, the groom side, independent, the Imam brings them. It makes no difference or bearing as long as they are Muslim, as long as they are adult, and as long as they are with faculties and reason and are able to understand what is being said. And that's the absolute minimum. So as long as those thresholds are met and that criteria is met, then the nikah will be valid, and this couple is not just bride and groom, but actually husband and wife, and they've been husband and wife for a couple of years by the sounds of it. It also sounds as though this young lad, I'm assuming young, 24, I'm not sure how old the groom was or the husband was, has had his fill, and whatever that means, I suppose folks can read between the lines. Often what tends to happen in these kinds of relationships, especially when other members, friends, family are unaware that this is happening, it's a massive warning sign, certainly for people in our position, the imams and the khatibs that are actually performing the nikah. In fact, one of the questions that we ask is, well, does anybody know? Are your family aware? Are they supportive? And whenever people ask us for witnesses, can you provide witnesses, it's always a flag of concern, because this is your wedding day, and typically it's one of the biggest days of your life, and typically it's a day where lots of people are invested in it, friends or family, and people are generally aware of it. If you're getting married and you don't have any witnesses, or you've only got two people turning up, then it's always a prompt for us to ask more questions. And then when that conversation leads to families not being aware, in particular parents not being aware, then that's the point that we abstain, and we actually actively discourage that kind of stuff from happening, because it leads to things like this. It leads to a situation where one party has had their fill and they think that the other party is disposable. That's precisely what they do. They dispose of them because nobody's aware, nobody knows, and it remains a secret, certainly for those two individuals, where one party moves on and the other party is left carrying the baggage and trauma of everything that they've invested into this relationship, into that individual, and arguably being intimate with, for then to somehow draw the line and move on and carry on as though everything is normal and nobody is aware of it. Parents oblivious, thinking that their daughter is still single when actually she's been married and divorced. And similarly with the son as well, thinking that it's never been married before, and rather he's actually been married for 2 years, he's got divorced, and now he's going to get married for the first time for the public spectacle. That's not what marriage is intended to be. It was never intended to be this. And whenever you end up in that position, or there's a potential to go down that road to end up in that position, that's when you know that you're doing something wrong, right? And principally, it comes at a massive cost, and often that cost is borne by, and I always say this, and often, some of the brothers don't like this, certainly in the comments, that's a cost that's borne by women, certainly from our experience, and that's what we often see. So, to anybody who's interested in doing a secret nikah, in trying to do it cloak and dagger behind closed doors without family or friends being aware, this notion of trying to make it halal, walk away, walk away, walk away from one another, is as making it halal as it possibly can be without compromising relationship with friends, with family, with your parents, and without picking up all of this trauma. All right, your heart will hurt for a bit. That's just the natural consequence of life, and navigating your existence in compliance with Allah's commands. But it's better to absorb that pain than trying to live with this pain. May Allah protect us all, inshallah. May Allah grant that sister peace. I can only appreciate how difficult it must be for her. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.